Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Giving you all time to come in. Come on in, come on in, come on in. All right, we're coming in, we're coming in, we're coming in. Let me talk to those who will be watching this and you will not be watching this live. If you're not watching this live, of course, you can fast forward to whatever part of this check in is most meaningful for you. Um, if you want to go straight to the word, you can. If you want to go straight to the prayer, you can. But for those of you who are live, you're stuck with me. And I want to say welcome to our community check-in. Of course, community check-in is a time where we let me know how you're doing. We give prayer requests and we give praise reports. With that being said, let me say welcome and let me go in here and get to our hellos. Makia Sturkey, good afternoon to you. It's good to see you from YouTube land. Margaret White Darby, good afternoon to you. It's great to see you as well. Trisha from YouTube, good afternoon. She says, folk, family, and friends. And Pastor, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Um, Overwhelmed. I go out of town, and let me go ahead and give this announcement. There will not be a check-in Thursday. Why? I'll be out of town on family vacation. So I'll be chilling with my family, and I think I was going to do the check-in. The problem is I go to fly to Dallas tomorrow. We're driving to Austin Thursday, and we don't get into our Airbnb until that afternoon. So I just didn't. It was too up in the air. I don't know where we'll be. I don't know what I would use for internet. I'm traveling with my mom and all them, and so just we'll be on the way to Austin. So I just thought it'd be best just to not have it and pick back up Tuesday. So I'm doing well. I'm excited. I feel like I'm feeling a touch of sickness coming on. So y'all pray that what I think I'm feeling, I'm not feeling. Um, Evelyn Ellis, good to see you. I want you to know I'm praying for you. I heard about your garden and the flooding, and I've already prayed for you. I'm praying for a recovery, whatever you can be recovered will. But I'm also praying that you have the strength and spirit to learn whatever lesson this is and to put whatever effort you need to put to get what you can now out of your garden. Katrina Brown Banks, good afternoon, folks, she says, and good afternoon to you. Glad you could join us today. Dee Dee Holmes Wigfall, good afternoon to you. It's great to see you. Patricia Burton, great to see you. She says, good afternoon, Pastor. And I will put all those prayer requests in. Amy Cowherd, good afternoon to you. And Jackie Graham, good afternoon to you. And Felicia Auntie Diva Holmes, good afternoon to you. My brother Gerard Johnson's great to see you today. Miss, I actually knew this was Trisha Cleaves. Thank you so much for letting me know who it was. But since your YouTube said Trisha, I thought I would say Trisha as well. Miss Irene Smith, great to see you today. Good afternoon to you, folk, family, and friends. She says, and Amy definitely will be putting you and your siblings on the prayer list. Let's get into this question of the day. This I need everybody. This is an everybody question. It's an easy question. Okay, if you had a choice, if you had a choice between discipline and passion. You're praying to God. God's like, look, I'll give you a whole lot of one. I'll either give you a whole bunch of passion or I'll give you a whole bunch of discipline. Which would you take? That's our question of the day. If you had a choice between discipline and passion, which one would you choose? Now, here's what I'm going to do. For those of you who have not liked and shared, do me a favor, like and share at this time. I've got to like and share as well. I forgot to do that. I knew it was something I was forgetting. And that's what it was. So I'm taking time now to find this broadcast. Did you rinse out the pot? And use that spatula to kind of...
I did.
No. I'm saying when you rinse it out.
Oh.
Can y'all tell Bryce is home? Bryce is home, y'all. Bryce is home. Okay, I'm liking and sharing. We've got a couple more hellos when I come back. You got a choice. Discipline and passion. Got to give you a whole lot of one. And it's for something. So maybe it's for your career. Do you want passion for your career? Do you want discipline for your career? So that's what you got to choose. If you have to choose between passion and discipline, which one would you choose? Do me a favor, make sure you like and share, and that's what I'm doing right now, and then come in and answer our question of the day. We're ending our talk about forgiveness today. We're ending our talk about forgiveness. A couple of you have come in. I need an answer from everyone. Bryce's tournament over... No, Bryce is not. Bryce was in camp. He was not in a tournament. His first tournament is next weekend. Not this coming weekend. We'll be in Texas. Next weekend, he'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Who's me? It's we, bro. You're
okay. Okay. We. All right, I got a couple more hellos. I have a couple more hellos, and I think if I've not said Amy, hi to Amy on Facebook, hi to you, Tracy Lindsay. Hey, sis, good to see you, and good afternoon to you. I feel like there are a couple of others. Michelle Gordon, great to see you, and Yolanda Ellis Taylor, it's great to see you. Okay, for those who don't know and those of you who are coming in, here's our question of the day. Our question of the day is really simple. If you had a choice between discipline and passion, God's going to give you a whole lot of one. Which one would you choose? Discipline, passion. It's a hard question. I think it is a hard question. While you all are answering, let me catch up with these prayer requests. That's our question of the day. Make sure you like, make sure you share, and then we're going to get into this talk about forgiveness. And I am going into our community check-in. Michelle Gordon, I have your prayer list. Margaret White, Darby, I am getting you and Valeria's combined prayer list right now. I'm taking prayer requests. You all are answering the question of the day, and then we're going to get into this word. We are going to get into this word. I'm getting all our prayer requests. I feel like I have a couple more prayers. I'm smiling at one of the answers you all. If you had to make a choice between discipline and passion, if you're just coming in, answer the question of the day, come into the comments and let me know. All right, I believe I have all of the prayer requests. And so let's get into these answers. Let's see what we're saying. I gave you all a question. The question is, if you had a choice between discipline and passion, which one would you choose? This question actually came out of a conversation Bryce and I had some time ago. And so I thought I would pose it to you. What? That's fine. Yes. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where these answers start. And I think it's with Dee Dee Holmes Whitfall. We're about to get into this word, but we're answering our question of the day. If you're coming in, come in and tell us this. Answer this question. If you had to choose between discipline and passion, which one would you choose? Our first answer is from Dee Dee Holmes Whitfall. She says, I choose discipline. And there it is. Then our second answer, it goes right back and forth. Katrina Brown Banks says, I would choose passion. Amy Cowherd says something interesting. My passions normally help me to be disciplined, so I choose passion. Tracy Lindsay comes back and she says discipline. Okay, we've got a lot. We're really split down the middle today. I think I said good afternoon, Yolanda Ellis Taylor, but if I did not, good afternoon to you, and it's great to see you. Evelyn Ellis comes back and says, I would choose passion. A life of too much discipline has taught me that it is overrated sometimes. Okay, I like it. Then we come right back with Makia Sturkey, who says, I would pick discipline. It creates stability, especially when it comes to my emotions. For those who are coming in, straight there, straight back. Bryce, careful. Yeah, Bryce is driving. Now he got his driver's license. Where are we? Who's our next answer? Felicia Auntie Diva Holman says, OMG, I'm torn. She says passion. That's your first answer. That has to be your final answer, Felicia Auntie Diva Holmes. But we get the discipline is right there behind. Jackie Graham says, if I had to choose, I would choose discipline. I would choose discipline. Irene Smith says, I choose passion. I choose passion. I love this, how this is splitting us in the middle. That's how you know you have a good question. It's how you know you have a good question, when it's really split down the middle. Patricia Burton says, if I have to choose between discipline and passion, she says, I would choose discipline because you can have a ton of passion, but if you don't have the discipline to get it done, you will be forever tormented. It takes both with discipline being supreme. Patricia Burton, I'm coming back to this answer. Yolanda Ellis Taylor says, I would love to say discipline, but my passion always wins out. Discipline gives me peace. Michelle Gordon comes and she says, I would choose passion because I believe that will bring on the discipline. Okay. I like it. I think somebody else said that. I think Amy said something like that. Margaret White Diamond says, I'm a bit torn between the two, but I think I would build discipline about the things I am passionate about. So does that mean you choose passion? Gerard Johnson says, discipline for me. Discipline for me. And I just got to share this sisterly commentary. Yolanda told us, "Sister, proud of you, Eve. I was sure it would be discipline." Patricia Bird, you probably gave the answer better than I could have ever articulated. And this is what I told Bryce. Let me tell you how where this question came. Bryce and I were talking, and I was talking about the differences between him and his mom, me and his mom. And what I said was, for those who don't know, Tracy, I don't think she practices anymore, but she grew up, went to law school, and was an attorney for most of her adulthood. I think now she works in HR. I've my whole life. But both of us, I've known since 10 that I was going to be a preacher. And so my life has kind of been shaped toward that, even though I have leaned in different parts of my life towards different directions. But I was sharing with Bryce how me and his mom are different in that way, in that I felt like I really never thought that Tracy, his mom, had a passion for law. I never thought his mom had a passion for law. Ruby or Deacon Oakley said they would choose discipline. And what I said was, because I've always felt that my career or my profession was a calling, I've had a passion. I love, in some shape, form, or fashion, ministry. Whether it's ministry, I love preaching. I've always loved preaching. That's been the kind of standard for my whole life. I've always loved preaching. But if you know me for a long period of my life, I did not want to pastor. I wanted to go into the academy and I wanted to teach, and I love teaching. But then, life goes how it goes. And of course, I don't believe I'm always the author of every part of my life. And so here I am, I'm pastoring. And I love that too. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for preaching. And so what I told Bryce is, I was like, your mom, she has discipline. Me, I've always had passion. I don't think she has much of a passion for the law. And I've always struggled with my discipline. And so I asked Bryce, if you had to choose, which one would you choose? Discipline or passion? He said, I would choose passion. I told him I would choose discipline. Here's my answer to why. And I think Patricia Burton said it best. I found that with my passion, there are a couple of reasons I would choose discipline. There's no right answer to this. I'm just telling you what my choice would be. The first is, I believe to be great at something that you're passionate about, to be great at it, you still need to be able to work on things to bring that passion to its fruition that you may not like and you may not be good at. Let me give you an example. An athlete may have a passion for basketball, but not a passion for training, building their body, weightlifting, endurance training, stamina training. But to be their to be the best they can be in basketball, it would behoove them to have the discipline to train, do those things I don't love, but my discipline makes me do it. I think this is I'll talk about that later. So, I think, first of all, for any passion, for you to be great in it, at some point you need to be able to do things geared or around that passion that you don't like and you don't want to do. And that's where discipline comes in. The other thing I'll say about passion, because I believe I have a passion, but still, passion as a motivator can wane. Passion can be moody. It can sometimes be caught in the whims of life. There are times I've fallen in love and I've become less passionate about who I want to be and what I want to do career-wise because I'm in love. There are times I've been depressed, and so of course I've been less passionate about what I want to do. So I believe that sometimes for me, I've experienced my passion sometimes caught in the whims of life. If I had the discipline I wanted, that would not matter as much. So for me, and here's what I love the way you worded this, Deacon. I would choose discipline because you can have a ton of passion, but if you don't have the discipline to get it done, you will be forever tormented. Oh my God, I love that phrase Because Patricia Burton, believe it or not, oftentimes when I've been my most sad or sometimes my most depressed, it really has something to do with this. Me feeling like I am not exercising the discipline to be my best self. Me feeling like I am not exercising the discipline to live into my passion at my highest capacity. I agree with you. It takes both. I think the people who are the greatest at what they do have both. Michael Jordan, the difference in Michael Jordan and so many other athletes, yes, he had stellar athleticism, but there are people who could jump as high as Michael Jordan. Yes, he could shoot well, but there are people who could shoot as good as Michael Jordan. Yes, he could dribble, but there are people who could dribble as well and better. There are people who could jump higher than Michael Jordan. There are people better than Michael Jordan. There are people who could dribble better than Michael Jordan. And same with LeBron. What a lot of people did not have is the discipline that Michael Jordan and that LeBron James employ to be who they are and to do what they do. And so if I had to choose, I would choose discipline over passion. Because even when I look at Bryce's mom, and I talk about this positively, the way that she was able to iron out at some points a very successful career in law, I don't think had anything to do with her passion. It had something to do with her discipline. So, what I will tell you is, I do believe we don't have to choose. I do believe we should pray for both. I love this last sentence. It takes both, with discipline being supreme. I agree with that for me. Here's another answer. I love this. Evelyn Ella says, but discipline can be so driven, it kills some of the passion. Maybe, yes. That maybe you have to live that to see the negative part of discipline. And I certainly have not. All I know is, Evelyn, there was a period of my life where I employed great discipline in my passion. And it was one of the most productive periods I've ever had in my life. It was one of the most productive periods I've ever had in my life. I was most proud of myself. I had probably some of my best self-esteem. And then life happened. And one of the reasons I go to therapy, one of the reasons I pray daily is I'm always praying that God would help me match my discipline with my passion. All right. Great question of the day. Thank you all so much for coming in here and joining us. Let's get into this word. We're talking about forgiveness. And we've been talking about forgiveness for a while. We first began talking about the fences that we need to put around forgiveness for this to be safe. Look, we ain't even got into the word, Felicia. That was a question of the day, but it was a word. It was a word. So I praise God for you. We talked about, first of all, that we need to sometimes put fences around forgiveness so that if we forgive and when we forgive in safe places and safe spaces. We started by saying there are 3 things I wanted you to know about forgiveness: that fences, some guardrails to help us forgive and keep ourselves in safe, emotional, physical, spiritual, and relational spaces. First thing we said was forgiveness does not always mean support. You can forgive someone and you don't necessarily always have to keep supporting them. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness does not mean I give you unlimited support no matter what you are and what you do. That's not what forgiveness means. We also said forgiveness does not mean keeping the relationship the same. Don't let anyone convince you that the only way to forgive them is to go back to the relationship as it was. I said before, there are some people we've cut off communication with, and we need to keep that communication cut off. There are some people we've decided, listen, I can no longer be the person you come to for money, and we need to keep ourselves not the person they come to for money. There are some people who we've blocked, and we need to keep them blocked. We can forgive them and then say the relationship cannot be the same. There's some romantic relationships we've had, and we've broken up, and maybe we've forgiven this person, but forgiveness doesn't mean we have to go back and be in the romantic relationship again. Don't let people convince you that the only sign of your forgiveness is resuming the relationship as it always was. In other words, we said forgiveness can happen with boundaries. We said the presence of forgiveness does not mean the absence of boundaries. In fact, I can offer my forgiveness without withdrawing my boundaries. I can offer you my forgiveness and I can keep the boundaries in place now that I've put up in and for our relationship. But what is forgiveness? We asked in part 2. And we said there are 2 ways I want you to think about what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is the stopping the feeling, to stop feeling the angry or resentful towards someone. It is to stop feeling anger or resentful towards someone. And here's what's important to understand about that. Anger and resentment are your feelings. If anger and resentment are feelings that you feel, then forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness does not mean the person is better. Forgiveness does not mean the person has done what they ought to do. Forgiveness does not mean they have atoned for their sins or their wrong. Forgiveness does not mean they've necessarily made amends. Now, all that would be nice. But forgiveness is you checking in on your feelings. And here's what's important to know about your feelings. Your feelings have zero effect on another person. Your actions can have effect on people, but your feelings don't. In other words, beloved, it does nothing to another person for you to feel anger toward them. It does nothing to another person for you to feel resentment toward them. In fact, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, the more we feel anger and the more we feel resentment, the more it weighs us down. The more anger and resentment causes stress. Anger and resentment causes anxiety. Anger and resentment makes us lose sleep. Anger and resentment are mood killers. That's why forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is about you because anger and resentment is what you feel. Our decision to forgive is a decision about a place we will be inside of ourselves. Now, can I go back to some of those fences? That's why I say I can choose. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to let this resentment kill me. I am going to keep my boundaries. Now, listen to this. I'm going to help somebody. For some of us, the boundaries help us forgive. For some of us, it is the placement of boundaries in the relationship that help us forgive. If I'm forever letting you lend money and you're forever not paying it back, and I never keep boundaries, I keep giving you money, you keep not paying it back, I may be putting myself in a cycle where I can't stop my anger and resentment because I keep losing money. So maybe for me to let go of the anger and resentment, I have to put the boundary up. I got to stop letting you borrow money. Because if I keep letting you borrow this money and you keep not paying me back, I'm never going to be able to get over it. So I'm going to place boundaries in this relationship so that I can move toward forgiveness. I'm trying to help somebody today. Forgiveness is about what you feel. That's the first thing. It's about discontinuing my feeling of anger and resentment towards someone. Here's another way of putting it. Forgiveness is to cancel what is owed from another person. We talk about that when we talk about like the forgiveness of debt. But here is a more analogical way to think of it. The literal way is somebody owes me money. I say, you know what? Don't worry about the money. We're good. That's the literal owing. But let me put this, and I think this is one of the best ways to think about forgiveness. Often when someone has wronged us, we want them to pay. Stop, rewind, play. Often, when someone has wronged us, we want them to pay. For some of us, payment is an apology. For some of us, payment is if they hurt us, we don't feel like they've paid until they've been hurt. For some of us, it's money, right? If I let you borrow money, I want you to pay it back. But usually when we're hurt, usually when we're angered, and usually when we're wronged, we have this sense that we want someone to pay. So often, if we break up with a relationship of somebody who's wronged us and been cheated on, deep down in our spirit, we want them to be cheated on. If we've been lied to and hurt by someone's lies, we want them to be lied to. Because in our mind, that is how they should pay for their sins. Now, can I help you today? Forgiveness says, you don't owe me anymore, even if you have not paid. How do I know that I've gotten to a place of forgiveness? This is the question that I wrestle with. And matter of fact, I want to write this down. This is why it has taken me so long to teach and preach about forgiveness. Because if I'm honest, I did not have a practical, clear answer for this. Let me be honest with you all. The Bible talks about forgiveness, but it doesn't really talk about what forgiveness is. The Bible tells us we ought to forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. The Bible even tells us forgive someone 77 times 70. You all remember but what does that mean? And how do I know when I've reached a place of forgiveness? Listen to this. I know I have forgiven someone when I am no longer angry and resentful. I know I have forgiven someone when I am no longer angry and resentful. Now, here's another one. And here's, I think, even a better one. I know I have forgiven someone when I am no longer concerned if they pay. You need to write that down. These are the two ways I think I can best, for now. Maybe next year I'll find a better way to articulate it. But right now, I think there are two things you can say, two ways you can think about if you have forgiven someone. I know I've forgiven someone when I am no longer angry and resentful. How do I know I'm no longer angry and resentful? And here's a better way for me to say this. I know I have forgiven someone when I am no longer concerned if they pay. I'm not worried about if they go to jail. I'm not worried about if they pay me back. I'm not worried about if their relationships fail in the future. I'm not worried about if they get fired. I'm not worried about somebody needs to cheat on them too. I'm not worried about what their life needs to go on a downward spiral. I'm not worried about their karma because I'm no longer invested in whether they pay or not. I'm trying to help someone. I believe this is a great way to understand and to conceptualize if you have forgiven. Couple more things I want to give you. Now, let me say this. That's a hard place to get to if you've been really hurt. This right here, where am I? This is a hard place to get to if you've been really hurt. Some of us spend all of our lives wishing and wanting someone who hurt us to pay. Some of us spend the rest of our lives, have spent days, weeks, years wishing and wanting for someone to pay. I didn't say forgiveness was easy. But what I'm here to tell you today is I think forgiveness gets a bit easier if we have clarity on what we're seeking. What am I seeking when I'm trying to forgive someone? I am seeking the removal of my anger and resentment.
I can't get results for that.
I am also seeking my concern with whether they pay or not. Now, let me tell you this. That's a hard place to get to. Listen to this, though. And here's what I want to tell you. It's a hard place to get there. And I want to be honest. I don't know if in some cases we ever get to full forgiveness. Maybe you have. Maybe as I'm teaching this and you're looking back at your life at the people that have wronged you, maybe you can look and say, you know what? I'm good. No anger, no resentment, and I'm not concerned whether they pay or not. Maybe you're there. But here's what I want to suggest. It's hard. In fact, I want to give you some interesting news. We may not always get there. But listen to this. Listen to this. Just because we may not get there, forgiveness or the removal of my anger or resentment, the coming to the place where I'm not concerned whether they pay, is always available for us. So I say this. We may not always get there, but we can always go there. We may not always get there, but we can always go there. Last thing I want to say is very similar. I wrote that wrong. I gotta fix it. We may not always get there, but we can always go there. Forgiveness is always available for us to seek. Forgiveness is always available for us to try to go there. So we can go. Think about it like this. If forgiveness is West Coast, Los Angeles, and lack of forgiveness is East Coast, DC, we may be living in DC, but forgiveness is always available for us to get in our car and start working our way toward LA. You see that? At any point, we can start walking towards LA. At any point, we can start driving towards LA. At any point, we can get in a train and go to LA. We can get on the bus. So we may not always get there. But wherever we are in relation to forgiveness, we can always go there. Where am I going? I'm going towards LA. Now, so I want to say it another way. And I'm going to give you one other analogy to think about that will help you even conceptualize this, and I'm done. We may not always get there, but we can always be going there. Sometimes, Evelyn Ellis, the best we can do is to be on our way to LA and know that my face is facing west. and my back is facing east, even if I haven't arrived. Y'all, I'm trying to help somebody. Is this helping? I'm trying to help you get a picture of the importance of direction. No, I may not have reached forgiveness, but I'm facing it. No, I've not been able to forgive fully, but I'm going there. I've made a decision to leave DC and work my way towards LA. And here's the best thing I'll tell you what I find when we go back to, I know I've forgiven. Remember this, I know I've forgiven someone when I'm no longer angry and resentful. And I know I've forgiven someone when I'm no longer concerned if they pay. The truth of the matter is sometimes we think we have forgiven. We think we have forgiven. And then we find out, you know what? There's some resentment that I didn't even know was there. We think we have forgiven. Then we find out, you know what? There's some anger. I didn't really know I was there. We think we've forgiven. And somebody calls and says, you know, I saw your ex. They were just as happy. We were like, Lord, I don't want them to be happy. And I find out there's some forgiveness that's not all there. You know what it's like? Anybody ever been to the beach and you had sand on you and you thought you had gotten rid of all of the sand, and later you're undressing and you take off another article of clothing and lo and behold, there's still some grains of sand there. It's hard to get sand fully off of you, isn't it? And if you've ever been to the beach, you know what it feels like. That you think, you know what? Okay, I'm good. I got the sand off of me. It's clear. Next thing you know, you uncover something else, and there's still some sand there. Similarly, that's oftentimes how we experience forgiveness. But I want to give you some good news. We may not always get there, but we can always go there. We may not always get there, but we can always be going there. God, we love you today. We honor you and we thank you. We thank you for this series of lessons where we have really dug in deep on this idea of forgiveness. Today, God, I want you to walk with us, and I want you to talk with us, and I want you to tell us and remind us that you are our own. God, give us the fortitude, the strength, the love, the spirituality, God, to want to forgive. Help us today, God, to want to release the anger. Help us today, God, to want to release the resentment. Help us today, God, to want to remove our obsession with someone else paying. Help us to let it go. God, if we need to put boundaries in our relationship, help us to put those boundaries in. Help us to put those boundaries in, God, to help us get to a place of forgiveness. But God, we confess today, God, that if we are going to be able to forgive like you've forgiven us, we got to let it go. And on that note, God, I want to thank you for forgiving us. I want to thank you that no matter how wrong we've been, you're not sitting up in your heavenly throne angry with us. No matter how wrong we've been, your love is so big for us that you aren't sitting resentful of us. And God, the truth of the matter is, you also aren't obsessed with whether we pay. And that's why there's some consequences we've never had. That's why there's some results we've never had to receive. And that's why there's some outcomes that we've never experienced. So God, today, as we preach and we talk about forgiveness, I want to thank you for your forgiveness towards us. Thank you, God. Because there's some ways I probably should have paid that I didn't. Thank you, God, that it releases my spirit to realize and to be reminded you're not angry with me. Thank you, God. I've not always done what you've asked me to do. I've not always been who you've asked me to be. But it releases my spirit that you're not resenting me. Thank you for your forgiveness. And help us today to forgive better. Today, God, we come with people on our heart and our mind. And so we lift up today Tracy Lindsay and her grandson. We lift Deborah Beasley and Boyd and Ulysses Harris. We lift up Amy Cowherd and her sibling, William Bird and the Fletcher family. We lift Annie Murphy and Michael Merritt and Brooks. We lift up Sean Lewis and Leon Martin, Daryl, Ayana China, Shankta and Michelle Palmer, Mary Green, Gary Barnes, Margaret White, Darby and family, and Carlotta Best. We lift up the homeless community today, God. We lift Lawrence Jones and Dana Tanner, Rusheen Reed, Constance Johnson, Rajon Hayes, Valeria Boykin. We lift today Peyton, Noah, and Nash in Paris, the grandchildren of Michelle Gordon. We lift Nakia Jones and Kelly Meadows and Michael Meadows and Brian Gordon. We lift Michelle Gordon. And we lift Sean Martin. And we lift Julie Huang. And we lift Marcus McCants, Carla and Kelly Mathis, Heather Manley and Carl Collins, Joy Treadwell, Teresa Jones, Ruthie Prophet, Tamika Robertson, Samuel Perry, Patty Perry, Patricia Perry, Tracy Blackwell, and James Walker. You know what every name needs. You know how they need you. Move right now, God, as only you can move. Do as only you can do, and be as only you can be. This is my prayer. I pray it in the loving, liberating, and life-giving name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Beloved, thank you so much for joining us in our check-in today. Again, we will not have check-in. We will not have check-in this Thursday, but we will be back next Tuesday. I also want to remind us, we've got a big weekend coming up, July 29th and July 30th. We're serving our community at our back-to-school empowerment day. I pray that you would help serve. If you go to our website, sign up today and help us serve on July 29th. All you have to do is go to our website, fellowshipoflovechurch.org, fellowshipoflovechurch.org. And what you should see, I think the first header is the graphic that kind of tells you about the day. But if you go to that second header or you wait, it'll slide on its own. There's a QR code. You can scan that QR code, access the volunteer form, and sign up today to volunteer. We need volunteers. We need volunteers. We need volunteers. And I pray and I hope that you will help and that you will make sure you volunteer with us and for us July 29th. Then July 30th, that Sunday, we're having our back to school worship experience where we're praying, we're worshiping, but then before we get out, we're praying with and for our educators, our students, our faculty, our administrators, and all of those who have anything to do with education. Good afternoon, George Green. It's good to see you. For the rest of you, I'm about to get out of here, but I do want to touch and agree with you. Irene Smith, I'm touching and agreeing with you. Deacon Burton, thank you so much. I'm touching and agreeing with you. Gerard Johnson, touching and agreeing with you. And Evelyn Ellis and Amy Cowherd, I'm touching and agreeing with you. Katrina Brown Banks, great to have you today. I'm touching and agreeing with you. And Michelle Gordon and Regina Campbell, I'm touching and agreeing with you. Yolanda Ellis Taylor, Felicia Auntie Diva Holmes, I'm touching and agreeing with you. Beloved, do me a favor. If you've not liked and if you've not shared this live today, like and share this live. If you know anybody struggling with forgiveness, I ask you to tag them or just make sure they come. Make sure you share it with them. You can send it privately, I believe. But if you know anybody who's discussing or needs help for forgiveness, then please send them to this live. May God bless each and every one of you. May God keep each and every one of you. And please remember to live in love.